Alrighty, so the round of 16 matchup of the Leeds Cup tournament is in the books, and man, oh man, do you like chaos? Do you like PK shootout? Do you like things that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever? Then tonight is definitely the night to do so because my oh my, I mean, besides the game that I've just watched between LAFC versus RSL, which I want to thank the fact that that game ended relatively quickly because I was worried that that game's gonna end in a shootout and we're gonna have a late review again. That was not the case in terms of these three games where all of them went to a PK shootout, and one of them we thought it was over, and then it wasn't. But we start off with the first one, which is Minnesota versus Toluca. This, of course, is the game that I watch the most, followed by this one, that is, because, of course, it is my team that is playing. Though, again, coming into this game, I had no expectation in this one. I had no expectation that the Loons were going to beat Toluca in this one. And after watching this game, I was kind of surprised at the fact that they were still able to move on. Though I will also say that this was probably the most Minnesota United way for them to move on into the next round. A team that come out to a 2-0 lead, looked like they shocked everybody, and then they proceed to do your typical Minnesota collapse that we know that they do, and also other Minnesota sports team does, and still somehow in a way pull out in a PK shootout. Now, early on in the first half, I thought there was a lot of possession by Toluca as Minnesota was elected to sit back, and I thought that was kind of the tactics in this one. I mean, this was a game where, as much as I was fearing about how good Toluca is going for it on the attacking end, one of the things that they mentioned that Toluca does have problem is when they have to defend transitional play. Guess what? Minnesota is very good in terms of that. So I thought that was maybe a glimmer of hope that the Loons were going to do well into transitional play, and they did well in terms of that too. There was a couple of times that they caught Toluca out at the back because Toluca was throwing way too many men forward. Though the first shot of the game did see Araujo shot deflected and goes over. They pronounce his name Araujo in this game again. Again, is it Araujo? Is it Araujo? I don't know. I mean, it really depends on how it is. By the way, Cal Williams were announcing this game. Always love to hear Cal, of course, announcing a Loons game, and you can clearly see he still care about the Loons the way that he it's pretty clear that he was trying his best to not showing his bias for Minnesota United in this one. But in the 12th minute, Raul did blast it wide from close range. For whatever reason, Cal always pronounced his name like Awawu or something like that. It's Raul. I don't know why they pronounce it like throughout this term. I have not heard any other commentator pronounce the way that Cal pronounced. So I'm just gonna go with what other people have pronounced, and that is Pedro Raul. He blasted wide from close range, but then in the 14th minute, Minnesota score, and it comes on an unlikely goal scorer too. Joseph Rosales scoring from Reynoso here to give Minnesota a 1-0 lead. It was a wonderful volley there from Rosales, which is something that I didn't think he had that in his arsenal. But at the same time, I feel like this is one that Volpe wants to have back. I mean, yes, it was a volley that was hit with a bit of pace from Rosales, but Volpe, he got a hand to that. I think he knows that he probably should have done better in terms of it. But nevertheless, Minnesota does have a 1-0 lead. There was a shout for a handball for Toluca not given, and then Dane Sinclair denied Morales from point blank effort, and that's just a reminder that yeah, Toluca does have some weapons. I mean, between Raul and Morales, those are two guys that I was very fearing about this Toluca team because they have had so good of a tournament so far. Though there was no doubt that Toluca was pressing for the equalizer and really testing this fragile Loons backline. I mean, this also was kind of my big concern coming into this game because the backline and also the midfield has been atrocious for Minnesota United doing this tournament. And the possession was 76-24 for Toluca through 28 minutes. But then in the 32nd minute, Minnesota get a 2-0 lead. And who else but Bukule Longwane? He scored here from Fragapani to make it 2-0. I mean, Longwane is just on fire right now. He's a man in form right now. You know that he's on fire right now. The fact that he's able to keep his composure and just completely made a fool out of Volpe trying to come off his lines there and slots it into the empty net. But that being said, as much as that was a really surprising to see the Loons jump out to a 2-0 lead, despite the fact that Toluca had control this one. There was a real big hold your breath moment for Loons fans as Reynoso actually went down after he slipped there. Now the good news is Reynoso did continue and he actually continue for the rest of the game, even though Reynoso did ask to be subbed off in the first part of this second half, and you just hope it's nothing serious because again, Reynoso he is an irreplaceable piece in this Minnesota team. I mean, we saw what how this team looked without Reynoso, and it's a very bad kind of attack. The Loons cannot afford to lose him, and let's just hope it wasn't anything serious that happened. And then Ruiz would blast it high from long range. The shots were 9-4 for Toluca, but what really matters is the shots on goal. It was 2-1 in favor of Minnesota, so despite the fact that Toluca had a lot of shots, not a lot of them really tested Dane Sinclair, and I thought Minnesota was being comfortable in terms of defending in a low block and really causing havoc for Toluca to attack. But we do head to halftime with Minnesota leading 2-0. And it looked like it was 3-0 when Longwane puts it into the back net, but the goal was disallowed for offside, rightfully so. I mean, Longwane was maybe a step too soon in terms of committing that. But once again, I thought there was a lot of space for the Loons to exploit. It feels like every time they can get on the transition and hit on this Toluca defense that, again, because Toluca commits so many man forward and they kind of play a high line at time, you know that there's going to be a lot of space to exploit at the back. Harada then missed a volley from the corner despite being wide open there, and then Mascara would hits it wide from close. Reynoso then puts it wide on the free kick. Keep in mind, Reynoso, he actually as asking for a sub just a minute ago, so I was kind of surprised that he was still able to do well in terms of that free kick. And then Pookie would put it right to Volpe. I know there's already started to be concern with Team Pookie because he has not been playing very well doing his first couple of games. I mean, besides that one game he had against Houston, he has been kind of underwhelming so far. And I'm just hoping that eventually, once he does get his confidence back, because you can clearly see he is low in confidence, and this is an example of what happened when a number 9 is kind of low in confidence. Hopefully, once he gets a go, I think things will start rolling for Team Pookie. But in the 64th minute, Raul would hit it wide from close range, and I thought the Loons need this third goal because I just feel like, even at 2-0, I just don't feel comfortable with the way that, this Toluca team known to able to come from behind. I mean, you saw what happened in the game against Nashville. They were down twice in that game, able to come back and eventually win 4-3, and this is a team that's known to score relatively quickly. And also knowing the fact that Minnesota is a team that knows to choke leads at time this season, it feel like they have to get this third goal, or else things could turn south. Guess what happened in this one? Yep, immediately after I wrote that, Toluca get one back. Yeah, it's Harada, the one that gets the goal back for Toluca, and all I say is, oh, here we go again. I mean, I just had a feeling the meltdown was going to happen, and it did. As in the 70th minute, a penalty was given to Toluca after Dotson fouled Ruiz in the box. They did go to VAR to check whether or not if that is the case, and yeah, it was clearly a foul there in the box. And to make things worse, Dotson was already on yellow card, so he gets a second yellow for that. The Loons were down to 10 men, and it would be Volpe, the one that converts the penalty for Toluca to ties the game up at 2 apiece. Again, Volpe, one of the rare sequence you see a goalkeeper takes a PK. He's a penalty kick specialist in terms of goalkeeper, and he slots that one home to tie the game up at 2 apiece. Dane Sinclair then denied Hirata, and then he denied Morales as he pushed that one onto the post, and you can clearly see that, like I said, the meltdown was happening. You can clearly see that, yeah, Toluca is probably gonna win this. Like with the way that the Loons were down a man in this one, I was basically waiting for when the meltdown is fully complete and they concede that third goal. Arujo then hits it right to Dane Sinclair, and really as the time winds down, it is pretty clear that Minnesota was playing for penalty. That like they were just parking the bus. It was like row heave mode on steroids in terms of them just kind of protecting a 2-2 draw and head into a PK shootout. And to their credit, I thought they did really well to do so. I mean, consider the fact that they had to survive multiple pressure that Toluca was putting in. It was kind of a bit of a miracle, the fact that they even made it to the PK shootout. So, yeah, we do go to the PK shootout, and in the PK shootout, one thing I'll say is that so far in terms of PK shootout, surprisingly, MLS team has gotten the better of Liga MX team. I always thought that when it goes to the PK shootout, Liga MX team has the upper edge because I've seen before in the CONCACAF Champions League that is the case. That doesn't seem like it's the case so far in this Leeds Cup tournament. I mean, there hasn't really been a lot of Liga MX. I mean, it's been kind of even, I would say. I wouldn't say MLS team has completely blow out Liga MX team in terms of winning PK shootout. It's been relatively even, but at least recently I have seen notice that there's been more MLS teams that have beaten Liga MX team in the PK shootout, and this one was no difference. As in the end, it would be Bin that converts the winning penalty, despite the fact that Volpe did get a touch to that one. Yeah, that's one that Volpe will be thinking about because yeah, he definitely got a touch to it. He almost got enough, but that ball just sneaked into the left side of the post, which I think that's just kind of summarized this game for Minnesota United. It has to be tough. It cannot be easy. They have to give fans a heart attack or a roller coaster ride for them to grind out a victory. So yeah, in the end, for the second game in a row, Minnesota moving on into the next round after winning the PK shot, this time 4-2 in favor of Toluca. The shots in this game, yeah, heavily favorite Toluca. 29 shots compared to just 7 that Minnesota has. 6 shots on goal for the 3 that Minnesota has. 1 shot that was off target for the 11 that Toluca has. 12 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Minnesota has. And possession-wise, 30% possession compared to 70% possession that Toluca has. But at the end of the day, credit Minnesota. I mean, as I said before, I thought this team was going to implode. I thought they were going to choke away like we seen with a very typical Minnesota sports moment. But credit to them, they fought back. They kept their wits with them, win in the PK shootout, and now they're moving on into the next round where they're going to be playing against Club America at Allianz Field, or at least that's what we thought. Once this penalty kick shootout was concluded because well this by the way, in terms of the PK shootout, there was three that was at the same time. This one was the first one, this was the second one, and then this of course was the last one to start. So while this one was over for a couple of minutes, we thought that Minnesota was going to be playing against Club America at Allianz Field, and then things got crazy in the PK shootout. And honestly, I think when you look at this game between Club America and Nashville and what happened in the PK shootout, it's very eerily similar to the Orlando City versus NYCFC playoff game that we saw a couple of years ago. Remember in that game where it looked like Orlando City won the PK shootout only to find out later that Pedro Galese, of course, came off his lines. And back then, when there was a rule where, well, if you came off your line once, you're not going to get a warning. You're going to get a yellow card. And because Pedro Galese got a yellow card already, he was sent off. And then we had the whole Rodrigo Schlegel kind of heroism that I'm pretty sure Orlando City fans will still remember that day. But yeah, this was kind of similar to that. It looked like this was over, and also just like what happened in that game, it was kind of messy of how eventually they kind of got it right, and it was the same case here too. But before we talk about that crazy PK shootout, first of all, in the 4th minute, Malagon would deny Zimmerman from close range. I thought it was a very fast start for this team or for this game. I mean, I kind of expected because both of these teams likes to play on the transition. Malagon then denied Pico from close range, though I thought Club America started to dominate possession. This is where we start to see Nashville maybe started sitting a little bit too deep and kind of getting pinned in their own half. Quinones had a shot that was blocked by McNulton, and this came off after a WTF turnover from Teal Bunbury. Yeah, McNulton, he basically saved Bunbury there, and I'm pretty sure Bunbury is gonna have to McNulton a drink after this because yeah, this was just a terrible giveaway from Teal Bunbury, and if it wasn't for McNulton blocking that one, that was 1-0 in favor of Club America, and I even wrote Nashville got away with that that one. Then Malagon would tip Mukhtar's shots over, and then Zendejas would blast it high from long range. And Zendejas was very active in this one too. And then Suarez hits one right to Willis, as that was actually America's first shots on goal. So despite the fact that America did have their opportunity, they didn't really get to test Willis until when we get to the 43rd minute, and even then it was an easy save there from Joe Willis. And we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Fidalgo would blast it high from long range, and then Maligan would deny Bunbury in the near post. But then in the 64th minute, Zimmerman would score from Mukhtar here to give Nashville a 1-0 lead, and that was just vintage Walker Zimmerman moment. I mean, that Walker Zimmerman probably one of the dangerous player, probably besides him and Kai Kamara are probably the most dangerous player in the air. And yeah, I mean, when you decided to give even an inch of space for Walker Zimmerman to attack a cross coming into the box either from the corner or from the cross, yeah, you're in big trouble. And Club America allows Zimmerman to do so, and it's no surprise that Zimmerman slots that one home with a bullet header. And yeah, Nashville was leading 1-0 in this one, though Alvarez did had a cross shot there that struck the post in the 65th minute, as I thought Nashville was starting to go back into that low block and was kind of trying to frustrate America as America was continue to push man forward. Zendejas then hits one right to Willis, but then in the 77th minute, Valdez would score from Alvarez to tie the game up at one apiece, though Surridge did try to get one back for Nashville. Surridge, of course, making his debut in this one, and he would actually be in the storyline of this crazy game too. But here he hits it high from close range, and then Zendejas would hit it right to Willis in the 83rd minute, and there was no doubt that the momentum was all with Club America. I mean, they were pressing to try to get this winner. Nashville was clearly praying that this goes to a PK shootout. And then in the second minute of stoppage time, a penalty was given, actually not to Nashville. I wrote the wrong team there. It was actually given to America as VAR deemed that McNulton handballed that one in the box, and it was clear that he handballed that one. I mean, it was pretty blatant. His hand was in an outstretched position, and the ball hits him there. So yeah, a penalty was given to Club America. Quinones steps up to take the penalty, and he buries it. So yeah, it looked like it was going to be heartbreak once again. We've seen this happen before with MLS team having CCL heartbreak and just free space heartbreak that we've seen so common. But this is the Leeds Cup after all, and in the Leeds Cup, nothing makes sense. And apparently that's kind of how it is because in the 8th minute of stoppage time, remember that Sam Surridge kid that made his debut? Well, it turns out he had a dream debut in this one because he would score really on the last kick of the game from Mukhtar to tie the game up at two apiece. That is his first Nashville goal, and what a way to score your first goal for your new club on your debut in the 98th minute. I mean, it doesn't get more crazier than that. I mean, if he was named Messi or even Zlatan, I'm pretty sure he's gonna get a lot of the headlines. But yeah, the game was tied up at two apiece. Obviously, I know America fans are going to be very upset because that goal came after 5 minutes of stoppage time. But remember, we had the VAR look, so that took a couple of minutes. And you know the old saying, you always want to play until the end of the whistle. Like you can't just because there's 5 minutes stoppage time doesn't mean there's actually going to be 5 minutes of stoppage time. I mean, there's just I've said this many times before. There's a reason why whenever a stoppage time is on board, the PA announcer always said there is a minimum of 5 minutes stoppage time, not 5 minutes stoppage time, a minimum of 5 minutes of stoppage time. So yeah, Nashville they tied the game up at two apiece. It was just Pete leads up after dark moment that we have reached once again in this. We've reached that so many times, and it feels like we're here we go again. So we go to a PK shootout, and again, this is the big talking point, and this is where the big controversy was in this game. So Maligan in round number 6 looked like he denied Mayor of what was the crucial penalty kick save that won it for Club America. In fact, the referee blew the full-time whistle. They were even doing handshake. Even some of the America fans were invading the pitch, which I thought that was kind of premature. I mean, again, I get it. It was a big win for your club, but really invading the pitch and you're only moving on into the quarterfinal. Well, it turns out maybe the soccer god saw that, and yeah, they definitely did not like that because what happened while the America fans were invading the pitch, and they even talk about some of the security guards try their best to contain those fans, but they were having a tough time to do so. They actually were going to VAR to see whether or not if Maligan did come off the lines. And uh, uh, honestly, you know, as much as I know so far this tournament, it's been taking place in the U.S. and it's kind of unfair for Liga MX's team. I think this was kind of a good incident where I'm glad it actually happened at an MLS stadium, even though you know it was a very pro Club America crowd. Because I can't imagine if they did turn that call, how the Club America fans was going to react. And I will say that you know, as much as I know America fans has that reputation of doing some bad thing. I thought they did a good job in terms of handling when it was later turns out that VAR has overturned the save and that Malagon clearly comes off his lines. And it was not even close. Like when I first look at it, literally on the first replay I look at it, yeah, that one was gonna get overturned. So yeah, again, as I said, the American fans invading the pitch. This was clearly an example of celebrating too soon, and the soccer gods definitely did not appreciate that. So yeah, if you thought that we haven't reached Cup after Dark Chaos enough, and how about this with the way that eventually they did overturn? And again, I feel like they definitely took a little too long to do so, even though they got the correct call. And this is where I go back to what I said about the Orlando versus NYCFC game. It was very similar to that. It took so long for them to figure it out, and when they did figure it out, it just that was kind of the big talking point of it just feels like it left a big sour taste of the mouth of everybody because of how much of a shit show that was, and that was kind of the same thing here too. But nevertheless, with the penalty being or the one that was saved by Malcolm being overturned, and that they have to retake the penalty from Jack Merritt. It was no surprise that he slots that one home. And honestly, I just kind of had a feeling as soon as they had to retake it, I had a feeling Nashville was going to win this. I mean, I just feel like with what's going on after that, with the momentum clearly now swing in favor of Nashville, and also not to mention with the America fans prematurely invading the pitch, which that's going to anger the soccer gods. Yeah, it was pretty clear that Nashville was going to win this. So, to no one's surprise, in the very next penalty after Mayer converts it, America miss it, and there was Daniel Lovitz. He took advantage of it and converts the winning penalty for Nashville. So yeah, for Nashville, I mean they were pretty much the Undertaker in this one. And that meme of the Undertaker rising from the grave? That was what Nashville SC in this game. Looked like they were dead and buried, but only for VAR in a very controversial way to save them, and they took full advantage of it. Moving on into the next round, and now we'll be facing against Minnesota United and hosting that game in a couple of days. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 10 that Nashville has. Both team had 6 shots on goal, 5 shots off target for the 1 that Nashville has, 3 shots out of blocked for the 5 that Club America has, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that Nashville has in this one. And I know the Club America fans and pretty much Liga MX fans are going to be absolutely livid by this, and this is definitely a great evidence and great feel for them to say that this Leeds Cup is clearly rigged for MLS team to win it. But I'm just gonna reiterate what I said in that Orlando City versus NYCFC game that I reviewed a couple of years ago that has something similar to this. At the end of the day, as crazy and as a bit of a shit show it was for them to go to VAR and overturn it, as long as they get it right, I think that that's what matters. Because I rather for them to get it right, even though it's in a very controversial way, than they get it wrong. Because oh boy, if they get this one wrong, I guarantee to you, Nashville fan will be really up in arms in terms of it, and I think they have every right to do so if they do get it wrong. But that being said, moving on into the next game, and now, of course, now talking about the next one after we spent a lot of time talking about the chaos that we saw in this one. Now, this one also went to a PK shootout, but it was not as chaotic as what we see in this one, or at least in terms of what happened with the collapse of Minnesota United in this one. Though I will say this, for the New York Red Bulls, they simply cannot beat the Philadelphia Union in a knockout round. I mean, this it feels like it's a curse right now, and another That's So Metro moment for the Red Bulls, where I mean, this is what the third or fourth time that they play against the Union at Subaru Park in a knockout game, and they play a couple of times in the playoffs, and yet they still unable to move on into the next round. Though it definitely looked promising early for the Red Bulls, because just 4 minutes into this game, Elias Manuel would score from Fernandez to give the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead, and it was a very well worked goal too. I mean, they did a really good job working that one on the counter attack. And yeah, that gives the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead. Though besides that goal, I didn't really think anything happened in this one. But in the 12th minute, Barlow was in on goal here. But this is Tom Barlow we're talking about, so it doesn't matter if he goes in on goal. He's gonna miss it. So it wasn't a big surprise he missed that one there. Gastak then puts it high after a bad turnover from the Red Bulls, and then Glassness would puts it high and wide from long range. And I thought the Union would start to wake up in this one. I mean, it was a really slow start for the Philadelphia Union in this one, similar to what we saw in the last game against DC, but at least they started creating chances and trying to press for the equalizer. McGlynn had a chance to do so, but he hits it wide from close, and we do head to halftime with the Red Bulls leading 1-0 in this one. Now in the second half, Cornell would deny Elliott from point blank. I mean, Carlos Cornell makes a big save in this one too. But Manuel did look for his second goal there, but he missed wide, and then Glesnes would puts it over from close range. And it feels like, this next goal is definitely coming because I thought there was some good early chances for both of these teams. But that being said, I also thought that the final third play for the Union continued to be a problem. It was a problem in that game against DC. It was a problem again in this one. They just look off in the final third. But that being said, if the final third is not working, how about rely on set piece? Because that's exactly what the Union did. They got a set piece rise as here we saw Nathan Hario scoring from Wagner there to tie the game up at one apiece. It came off of a set piece. It was not great defending there from the Red Bulls coming from the corner. We then had some coming together between both of these teams because, just a reminder, this doesn't mean, just because I've said this so many times between MLS versus Liga MX's team, doesn't mean that it doesn't happen when we see an all MLS matchup. In fact, I wasn't surprised that is the case because I'm pretty sure Red Bulls and Union, those two teams, they do not like each other, especially the Red Bulls of how frustrated that they just simply cannot get past the Union whenever they get into a knockout game. But in the 82nd minute, Cornell did deny Hario from long range as the Union was pushing for a late winner, and you can clearly see the Red Bulls were starting to play for penalties with the way that the Union were knocking on the door to get the equalizer. But the Red Bulls does get their wish, as this one does go to a PK shootout. But unfortunately for the Red Bulls, they didn't win this PK shootout, and it would be Bueno that converts the winning penalty for the Union after the Red Bulls missed two penalties in this one. And yeah, less dramatic PK shootout than what we saw in this one between Nashville and Club America. But it's the Philadelphia Union who, just like Minnesota, for the second consecutive knockout round game, move on into the next round via PK shootout. The shots in this one, 19 shots for the 6 that the Red Bulls had, 1 shots on goal for the 5 that the Union has, 10 shots off target for the 4 that the Red Bulls had, 1 shot that was blocked for the 4 that the Union has, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that the Red Bulls has in this game. And again, for the Red Bulls, it has to be so frustrating. Like, this is probably the third or fourth time that they got eliminated in the hands of the Philadelphia Union, and I'm pretty sure Red Bulls fans are hoping if they do make it to the playoffs, they do not play the Union again because that's just been. It feels like we've seen it before where there's always like that one team you just don't want to face, whether in the regular season or in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure Red Bulls fans are just playing that. Yeah, let's not face the Union ever again because we just simply cannot get past them. But for the Union, again, another ugly resort, just like what we saw against DC. But as the old saying goes, it doesn't matter how well you play, as long as you advance into the next round in a knockout round. That is all that is matters. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last game to finish off the round of 16 action of the Leeds Cup tournament. So moving on into the last game is LAFC and RSL, and with how crazy that we saw in terms of some of these game on the first board, this one was kind of a bit anticlimactic. Though I will say that I want to thank LAFC to really kind of put this game out of reach because it kind of allows me to write the boards in terms of the notes that I did for the first 3 games, and also not to mention allow me to do something else while this game was on because I kind of stopped paying attention too much to this game by the time this game kind of got out of hand in the second half. Now, early on, LAFC was on the front foot early. Bogusz did have an opportunity, but he puts one over the bar, and then Ordes would puts it wide from close. And then Chiellini, he almost had a big mistake here as he misheads this one back, and then Gomez almost picked this one off and was in on goal there, but fortunately McCarthy was there to gather that one. And that, yeah, again, Chiellini, as good as he's been so far this season for LAFC and even in this tournament, got away with one there. And I even wrote that too. But the shots were 3-0 for LAFC, and I really felt like it was all LAFC early on. I mean, RSL was just getting pinned deep in their own half. McMath had to rob Bawanga from point blank in the 19th minute, and then Savarino has the first shot for RSL, but he pulls it wide from close range. And I thought RSL kind of started to got themselves back into this game. I mean, they survived the early LAFC storm, though Long had a free header there, but somehow missed wide in the 34th minute. And then in the 42nd minute, Chicho Arango, he looked like he was going to score against his former team. And honestly, I thought he was going to do it in this one. Like, this was clearly a revenge game that you would think that Chicho Arango was going to have against LAFC, and it just never happened. I mean, it was a relatively quiet night for Chicho Arango in this one. But we do head to halftime, scoreless between LAFC and RSL, but we would not stay scoreless for long, and this is when the game kind of got out of hand. As it started in the 52nd minute with Denise Bawanga. He scored from Bogush to make it 1-0 in favor of LAFC. It came off of a lightning counter attack, which would be a story of this game because RSL had no answer in terms of dealing with the transitional play that LAFC was doing. And then 5 minutes later, Bawanga was scored again, but this time it didn't came off of a lightning counterattack. It came off of a bad mistake. And honestly, when you're facing the likes of LAFC and knowing the fact that I think, after this game, you can clearly see LAFC is starting to be back at their best. The last thing you need to do is give them a goal and just commit a WTF turnover, and that's exactly what happened here for Justin Glad. I mean, just getting pickpocket by Bawanga, and that made it 2-0 in favor of LAFC. Bawanga looked for a hat trick in the 60th minute, but he missed Hyde, and the momentum was all with LAFC. Like, you can feel like this could really get away from RSL, and it did. As in the 62nd minute, Ordes would score for the second consecutive game from Palacio to make it 3-0 in favor of LAFC. Again, this is when I thought, well, this game is completely out of hand. And as much as I know there's been some craziness that we've seen in the Leeds Cup so far, and RSL are capable of doing that, I just feel like as the game goes on, it just didn't look like RSL was going to come back into this one, and it doesn't help when the LAFC was still creating chances for a fourth one. Bawanga would miss just wide uh, and and his hat trick, and then Bogush would blast one into Rosette. Rongo did also have another opportunity from the free kick, but he can only blast it into the 3-2-5-2. Fall then heads one right to McMath from the corner, and then in the 84th minute, Carista would score his first career goal for LAFC from Bogush to make it 3-0, or not 3-0, but 4-0 in favor of LAFC. I know, when LAFC are playing that good, you start to lose count of how many goals that they scored. That's when you know that LAFC is definitely back and they're back being at their best. And then Bogush trying to make it number 5, but he puts it just wide after. Guess what? Another lightning counterattack for LAFC. I mean, again, just no answer for this RSL team dealing with the transitional play of LAFC. And yeah, in the end, LAFC, they win 4-0 in this one. Shots in this one, 19 shots for the 10 that RSL had. 9 shots on goal compared to none that RSL has. 8 shots off target for the 7 that LAFC had. 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that RSL had. And possession-wise, 54% possession compared to the 46% possession that RSL has in this one. And again, very anticlimactic compared to what we saw early in these games. But hey, LAFC wouldn't care. Like again, this is a team that I think you can clearly see that, as much as I've mentioned about that long break that they had and it might have hurt them, I think maybe that long break actually helped them in the long term because I think it kind of get their squad refreshed and regroup the fact that it's almost like a new season now. They can put behind of a rough first half of the season that they had. Now they look like a team that look recharged and look like a team that can really go deep in this tournament. Though again, the next game will be a really big telling tale because the next game I think will be the toughest one where they play against Rayados. By the way, the only game that I didn't review in this one was Rayados versus Tigres, and I probably should have reviewed that because that is the El Clasico Regional, one of the biggest rivalry in Mexico. And that one also had some Leeds Cup after dark kind of moment with a penalty late in this one, and that Rayados won a penalty and they won it late against Tigres. But yeah, that should be very interesting. LAFC and Rayados, and especially with the way that LAFC, they're definitely exercising their demon, trying to take down against these top tier Liga MX team after they failed on the final hurdle in that game against Leon. And that this is a team that I know no losing the CONCACAF Champions League will hurt, but I think winning the Leeds Cup will definitely be a good consolation prize for them, especially. That is a way for them to earn their ticket back to the CONCACAF Champions League next season. So yeah, we'll see whether they can do so. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these round of 16 matchup as we're now into the quarterfinal, and the quarterfinal is going to start on Friday. It's actually going to be happening on the weekend, which again, that's definitely a good idea because I think the problem I think with these Leagues Cup games happening in the middle of the week, it's not really drawing good attendance, and we're seeing that too in some of these games where even in this one there was a lot of MTC that I saw around Bank of California stadium, and especially a lot of empty seats in the game that I saw between the Red Bulls and the Philadelphia Union. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.